So one of the things I wish we could do more of when in studio with TechWise TV is just set up better physical demonstrations, because one of the challenges we have is how do you take stuff that we're doing in cities around the world and then explain it to a group of people who can't necessarily travel there. And so we brought you in to showcase for us exactly what we've got going on with the booth, and if at all possible, give me a rundown of what's happening at the Innovation Center all the way down at the end of the World of Solutions, so don't miss this. What do we got here?
So here first we have a set of demonstrations about what we're doing in the different innovation centers around the world. We have innovation centers from London to Paris to Berlin to Istanbul, but we have in Rio, in Toronto, in Sydney, in Perth. So we are doing amazing work, and we call it kind of co-innovation around the world in real things, you know, making solutions to real world problems. And it's a good opportunity here to showcase what actually we have done.
So tell me what you've got started. So City Verve, am I saying that correctly, is demonstrated here behind us. What is going on with that project?
So 2.5 years ago, the UK government requested a city in UK to showcase how a smart city will look in the future. And 34 cities applied to actually get the opportunity to showcase how a city will look in the future if you apply all the latest technology, all the latest IoT technology. More than 120 use cases put together to demonstrate it in a single city, actually in 2 square kilometers in the center of Manchester, and that's City Verve.
And so there are things that are deployed now, that many use cases, or just a few that were involved
There are things that are deployed now in healthcare, in transportation, in energy and environment, even social and public realm, even things that they make people to get attracted to the technology using art, using augmented reality.
Describe to me the augmented reality, tell me how that's working. Describe to me, what would I see?
So we have these things that they call the Plinths, big yellow metal things that we have distributed around the town. And what you do is you go with your phone and you have a special application, you point at the plinth, and an object appears on the top of the plinth. The quality of the object is so good that you can actually zoom in, you can open it, and we chose objects that you cannot see in any museum in the world at the moment. We took objects that are digitized, that are specifically in the storage area, because people cannot really see them, they are too fragile to bring them out.
But you're doing these in physical plinths, so they're in context of where that object makes sense for what you're learning about in an area or something,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Incredible. So you're telling me about this stuff you're doing with trains. I think it's Swift is what this is called as well. So how are we getting to where the train could potentially be more effective than my own office?
Well, Project Swift is taking advantage of the capabilities that we have now to bring connectivity on a train much better to whatever we had before. Sometimes when I talk about Swift, people say, oh, it's a better Wi-Fi. No. It's a completely different type of connectivity. As I mentioned to you before, is better than what you get in the office. We're talking about between 300 and 500 megabits per train. And this suddenly opens a completely new set of use cases.
Like, I'm not so anxious to get off the train. My commute becomes as productive as I am in the office. Maybe I don't even need to get off the train, especially if it's going to be faster on the train for my Wi-Fi and the other services you can then drive from that.
Well, we had people that we surveyed for a number of different use cases, and they said, as long as the train comes back to the same station, I could spend amazing 5 hours on the train, working from the train as hot desking with an amazing meeting room, amazing view, and as long as it comes back, I'm happy.
I don't know if they can see that, but lights are flashing, which distracts me. Let's look at the car. Come here.
Oh, okay. So this car is a very good example of what we call fog computing. It's a very good example of an architecture that gives now capabilities, autonomy, and kind of a new way of distributing network based on technology that we used in service providers in the past, but now we used in IoT, providing new ways of really providing use cases that we'll never be able to do before.
So when you say fog, just to make sure everybody understands, this is really a protocol, kind of a network communication that we're doing, where computing is occurring at the edge, because it doesn't make sense in many IoT environments to waste a lot of network capability to transport that, process it, and then move it back. You're saying some of it we do at the edge, and that's where fog computing comes in.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it has to do sometimes with the amount of data, with bandwidth, but sometimes also it has to do with the necessity to have computing power much closer to the edge than actually going back. Exactly.
Okay.
So giving autonomy internal instead of really distributing everything to the cloud and wait for the latency for the decisions to come back.
So as I was looking at the back of this car, you've got stuff laid out that reminds me of like car stereo competitions, except that I don't see big speakers, I just see a whole lot of technology, and I'm picturing geeks rolling up into some kind of competition with all this stuff blinking and going, man, you can see the output on this thing.
They do look very cool. They are all based Cisco technology, but it's ruggedized routers that they are built, with heat sinks. They are built to be very robust, and they do look like almost, amplifiers that we used to have in really pimp cars. Yeah.
But as I looked around here, you guys have designed these cars. They've got sensors to communicate to hardened targets as they're coming up to a response on an emergency call, to understand or get surveillance feeds, to read license plates. I've noticed in here as well. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the concepts that are starting to be illustrated and taken advantage of?
It's about what use cases you get when you start integrating everything into this kind of a common kind of fabric of connecting everything together. We have the same platform that really connects the city, the lights, and now also the emergency services and the car into a single platform. So you have now the capability to be in the car and connect using Wi-Fi into the city infrastructure and see the feed of the camera that is actually around the street. Yeah. This now gives a possibility for use cases that we never had before, capabilities in the car that we never had before. We demonstrate use cases of the car being connected to be able to recognize, recognize the licensing plates. We're demonstrating use cases in which the car now is able to communicate with the city that we never had before.
That's incredible. So guys, just as a reminder, we're here in the Strategic Innovation Zone. It's down at the end of the world of solutions. If you don't recognize having seen this car and some of the stuff that's going on here, that means you've not walked far enough, and you really need to spend some time down here, because this is mind-expanding stuff. And speaking of that, as I look here, you've got transformers here. That is this also part of Barcelona and what's happening? Can you explain a little bit about what's happening here?
This is real. This is a real example of a real boxes in the middle of the street. This is what you're going to see if you open this box in the street, and it's as real as it gets. We put technology that enables now all these things to be part of this kind of common infrastructure. Yeah. And we're showing examples from a smart city, from emergency vehicles, really showing that connecting the unconnected can create these use cases that we never had before.
So I know as I walk around Barcelona, there's so much history and past, but you guys are doing a lot of things here, obviously, that represent the future. Would I notice much as I walk around Barcelona? What would I see at all deployed in the city right now?
You see, you won't see that much.
Yeah,
and this is it. Technology and smart technology is not about being visible. It's about when the power goes down, that the traffic lights turn immediately into yellow in order to enable the traffic while the whole power is down in the half of the city. Is about the lights dimming when when we have a surge of electricity in order to preserve lighting, but still cope with what happened in the grid. You see, the whole idea is don't see the technology. The whole idea is to make things simpler, easier, more secure, without really having to have lights and flying robots everywhere.
Yeah, as a citizen, I don't really know how much you guys are really doing and how successful it's been. I just know things just work. And then that becomes my expectation for every city I might be in. Anything else we need to understand here in the Innovation Zone?
That's it. I mean,
this is fun.
Some amazing stuff.
Mind-expanding stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Come check it out. It's the end of the world of solutions, the Strategic Innovation Zone.